To read. We'll come back, of course. These are really long chapters. Let's continue to read in Numbers chapter 27 in the King James Version. Then came the daughters of Zelophehad, the son of Hepher, the son of Gilead, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, of the families of Manasseh, the son of Joseph. And these are the names of his daughters: Mehelah, Noah, Hoglah, and Milcah, and Tirzah. And they stood before Moses, and before Eleazar the priest, and before the princes and all the congregation, by the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, saying, Our father died in the wilderness, and he was not in the company of them that gathered themselves together against the Lord in the company of Korah, but died in his own sin, and had no sons. Why should the name of our father be done away from among his family, because he hath no son? Give unto us, therefore, a possession among the brethren of our father. And Moses brought their cause before the Lord. And Moses brought their cause before the Lord. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, The daughters of Zelophehad speak right. Thou shalt surely give them a possession of an inheritance among their father's brethren, and thou shalt cause the inheritance of their father to pass unto them. And thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a man die, and have no son, then ye shall cause his inheritance to pass unto his daughter. And if he have no daughter, then ye shall give his inheritance unto his brethren. And if he have no brethren, then ye shall give his inheritance unto his father's brethren. And if his father have no brethren, then ye shall give his inheritance unto his kinsman that is next to him of his family, and he shall possess it. And it shall be unto the children of Israel a statute of judgment, as the Lord commanded Moses. And the Lord said unto Moses, Get thee up into this mount Abram, and see the land which I have given unto the children of Israel. And when thou hast seen it, thou also shalt be gathered unto thy people, as Aaron thy brother was gathered. For ye rebelled against my commandment in the desert of Zin, in the strife of the congregation, to sanctify me at the water before their eyes, that is the water of Meribah in Kadesh, in the wilderness of Zin. And Moses spake unto the Lord, saying, Let the Lord, the God of the spirits of all flesh, set a man over the congregation, which may go out before them, and which may go in before them, and which may lead them out, and which may bring them in, that the congregation of the Lord be not as sheep which have no shepherd. And the Lord said unto Moses, Take thee Joshua the son of Nun, a man in whom is the Spirit, and lay thine hand upon him, and set him before Eleazar the priest, and before all the congregation, and give him a charge in their sight. And thou shalt put some of thine honor upon him, that all the congregation of the children of Israel may be obedient. And he shall stand before Eleazar the priest, who shall ask counsel for him, after the judgment of Urim, before the Lord. At his word shall they go out, and at his word they shall come in, both he and all the children of Israel with him, even all the congregation. And Moses did as the Lord commanded him. And he took Joshua and set him before Eleazar the priest and before all the congregation. And he laid his hands upon him and gave him a charge as the Lord commanded by the hand of Moses. Okay, so a lot here, sermon upon sermon. There is something that I want to revisit, though. It was from the previous Bible study. And thinking about that and understanding what that had to do with anything, the term being big boned. Well, there is people even today that use, even myself, guilty as charged, that have used it because of weight. Well, everybody in the world is different, whether it be a built different, and our shapes, our sizes, our textures, etc. All of us have skin, all of us, though various shades of skin color, our eyes, everything about us is unique. I think of us as snowflakes, all different but yet unique, each one, including those that are twins or quadruplets, etc., where there is still something that's different even there, even though they may think very similarly, or they may believe that they think similarly, and they might. In a lot of case studies, there is a lot of instances where, especially those that grew up in the same learning atmosphere, may come to the same conclusion. However, there are differences. There are subtle differences, and people who are twins and such can tell you that even though they do understand each other, there are subtle differences, and those subtle differences, those are huge. Just like us, when we think of little things, a smile, a greeting to a neighbor, a welcoming. Though you may think that is something small, it may be huge. It may be life-changing to another. To the point of this chapter, there's a lot here. Listen to this. I'm going to read this first, and then I'm going to go back to a couple of different verses for more understanding. Verse 5. And Moses brought their cause before the Lord. So what does that have to do with any of this? A lot of times when we get into situations, particularly when we're asked our opinion or not, sometimes people give their opinion freely, right? Each situation, though it may look the same, is different. Every single time. You may get the opportunity to utilize things in a repeated pattern to help. For instance, someone turns a faucet on, you turn it off. However, knowing scientifically the degrading of things over time, you turn it on, you turn it off. The next person who turns it on and turns it off, something in there has been degraded, whether it's a mechanism, whether it's a padding, whether it's something in there has changed. When it comes to situations, think of that in a similar fashion. Even though things look exactly the same and may take the same exact resolution, it still may be different. So the best thing to do each and every time, every single time, is to go to the Lord, is to go to Jesus. Listen to what Moses did. Moses brought their cause before the Lord. Who were these people? Who were these women? Let's talk about it. In the very first verse, then came the daughters of Zelophehad, the son of Heper, the son of Gali, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, the families of Manasseh, the son of Joseph. And these are the names of his daughters, Mahlah, Noah, Hoglah, and Milcah, and Tirzah. Now remember, their father was a part of the generation that rebelled against the Lord and decided not to go into the promised land. Okay, so what happened? They stood before Moses and the priest. And then they spoke, and they said, our father died in the wilderness, and he was not in the company of them that gathered themselves together against the Lord in the company of Korah, but died in his own sin and had no son. So he didn't join Korah's rebellion. Remember, Korah was the one that decided, hey, let's take control. We're going to go back to Egypt, or we're just going to do what we want to do. We're tired of listening to Moses. We're tired of this whole thing. We're done. Because we also can speak to the Lord too. Instead of going to the Lord and asking about that, they just decided, we're going to rebel. Well, their father didn't join that. However, he did still rebel against the Lord by joining the congregation and choosing not to go into the promised land, because whether it be out of fear, whether it be out of what have you, whatever thoughts and feelings he had at the time, he agreed with the total populace, which was, let's not go. We're not strong enough. We could die. Therefore, he died, just like they said, but he died in his own sin and had no sons. So there are no body to, at this time, per the information that they had, there was no male to allow for a inheritance, because typically those went down through the males at the time. They wanted to take their concerns to Moses and the priest. And this is what they said. Why should the name of our father be done away from among his family, because he hath no son? Give unto us, therefore, a possession among the brethren of our father. Moses could have said, well, your father did wrong. I know that you didn't do wrong, but your father did wrong. Your family was in the wrong. Therefore, because up until that point, justification-wise, per the information that they may have had at that time, was inheritances were provided to the male of the family. Well, their father had no sons. And so they were like, why are we getting punished? Why we feel like we're getting punished as well? Why are we have nothing to do with that. We're just here, right? We're just here. Sound familiar? Does any of this start to sound familiar into like a past, present, like things that you hear? It's not our fault that decisions were made, and truthfully so. So what did Moses do? He went to the Lord. He could have just looked at, the situation at hand, and like I just mentioned, and judged according to man's thoughts, feelings, and judgment. However, he pushed those aside. He pushed all of that aside and had control over the flesh, had control over how to think about things, how to go about things. So he took their cause to the Lord. He said, you know what? Let me take this a step further and go to the Lord God Almighty, the power. Verse 6, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, the daughters of Zelophehad had speak right. Thou shalt surely give them a possession of an inheritance among their father's brethren, and thou shalt cause the inheritance of their father to pass unto them. Interesting, right? So it goes to show you that each and every situation, even though it may be similar, even though there may be other ways to go about it or provide resolution, it's best to go to the Lord each and every time. Because sometimes we may be thinking completely off and we don't see the end result, but the Lord, who is timeless, he does. He knows all things. And yeah, he's free to give his wisdom, and he definitely will. Pray to him, give him praise. And there's a lot more in this subject, a lot more. We're going to go way over if we continue on, including, typical judgments, even as to today when it comes to things about men and women, pay gaps, things about who does what and when, and there's a lot of instances in life where recommendation would be to go to the Lord. There's a question. But that's another point. We'll talk about that at a later time. Before we go on, though, what kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind when we read over this? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think?